Alright, this is Fig Review number 2 coming at you. This time we are looking at not one, but I figured I'd do two. These are Rick Grimes and Daryl Dixon from McFarlane's The Walking Dead. These are particularly from Series 6. These guys in particular, pretty important for me. Two of my favorite characters next to Michonne on the show. But I had to wait till Series 6 to finally get some good sculpts. They've had a couple of Ricks already, as you can imagine. And this is like maybe the third Daryl that we're getting. And finally, we got some good looking ones. Not to say that the other ones were bad. If you know McFarlane, and I think most casual fans, even if you're not into action figure collecting, recognize McFarlane as one of the premier quality fig makers. McFarlane's been putting out figures, Spawn figures specifically, since like 95, 96, I think. And back then they were all about toys, and playability, figures with accessories, vehicles, play sets, stuff like that. A couple of years into it, they kind of abandoned that, and they kind of went more into the adult collector's market. And they kind of abandoned things like articulation for sculpt and overall just look. They were meant to just be put up on a shelf. You weren't playing with them. And they've been like that for years now. Primarily doing Spawn figures for a long time. McFarlane was really popular for their sports figures. Football, hockey, baseball, basketball. They pretty much covered everything. And they made a lot of figures for sports, and they still do. They did a lot of movie characters, horror figures, musicians like Metallica, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix. They really branched out into a lot of stuff, but there are always those figures that go on your shelf and go in your display case. It wasn't until recently when McFarlane got the license for Halo figures that they kind of got this style that we're seeing now, that they started getting articulation back into the game. And it's nice to see because they do an excellent job, especially, they're one of the few American figure companies that will give you really nice articulation in addition to just great sculpting. So these guys, just like my Boba Fett in the last video, I do not have their packaging anymore. I couldn't wait to get these guys ripped out. To give you an idea of what their packaging looks like, I have this Rick from, I think this was, what was this? Series 4. So not much to the packaging, as you can see. Very, very light. This one came with a couple of different hands, accessories. This one is staying in the box because, as you can tell, it is exclusive. This was a Walgreens exclusive Rick Grimes figure. I think it's a pretty crappy Rick. I'm not a big fan of it. Babyface Rick. But it's exclusive. Picked it up, staying in the packaging. They do something really cool, though. Walking Dead, kind of has two big universes. Started out in the comics and is now, widely known because of the TV show. But they still give the comics some love, too. So this is a figure from the comic series. This was another exclusive for Black Friday from last year. Character Negan. If you watch the show only, you have not seen this guy yet. But he's a big baddie a la the Governor. So I'm very excited. I can't wait for him to show up. But he's, you have the choice of color or black and white because the comics are in black and white. So for this guy, I stuck with the black and white version. But it's cool that you can get that they're giving love to both the show and the comics. You can kind of pick your poison. But that's just to give you an idea of what the packaging looks like. As far as these two guys go, I guess we'll start off with Rick. So he's got his signature Magnum, which, it's a must for me. I love this thing. At first I kind of wanted him to have the hat, but then I was like, you know what? Rick hasn't really worn that hat in ages, so whatever, it's all good. He comes with an alternate hand. This is like a basic hand, and then I guess you got a bust-up bandaged hand. I forget at what point in the show these figures showed up in, and why his hand is bandaged up, but I just thought it looked cooler. He also came, and just like an idea of like the detail, like you could see he's got his watch on his wrist, his wedding band is on there, just looks great. He also came with this machete, so I just kind of leave that in there. And just that face sculpt just looks great. He's got the Rick Beard, like it actually looks like Andrew Lincoln. And I've been waiting for a long time to get a good Rick figure, and this was it. As far as articulation goes, now it's not, it's not like insane amounts of articulation, but for a McFarlane figure, it's a big deal because he can go on the shelf and it looks awesome, and you can still get some good poses out of him. So his head's on a ball joint. It can rotate full 100, 360. I'm not going to do that, but you get some nice tilt poses out of it. Arms rotate full 360. They're on this little swivel hinge so they can go up and down. Not too much, but enough. They've got elbow joints. Again, nothing crazy, but enough, a little bit of elbow motion. It is a bit of a swivel there, so you can swivel some of that arm motion there. So you can get that. The hands are really nice. This is the one that was interchangeable, so this is just going to swivel here. There's not much to that one. Put his gun in there. Call it a day. Let's get that back in there. And he holds it nicely. This guy, this one's got a nice pivot here. In addition to the swivel. So you could get some nice, action machete poses out of this guy if you really needed to. I'm just gonna keep him cool. He's just chilling with the machete. He does have his holster, and his holster will fit the gun. I think. Yep. Like I mentioned with Boba, I love it. You know, if you want to get that pose in of him just chilling with his hand on the gun, you can kind of get a little something going there. As far as the legs go, they have these odd kind of joints where they can rotate almost fully back and forth. They don't go all the way forward, but they have a nice swivel to get some more leg range. They've got their own kind of like sort of ratchet joint that doesn't make any ratchet noises, but you can still kind of feel it for the knees. Pretty nice. Feet, they're on a ball joint in there, so they could move, but due to the sculpting, they don't move too much. So again, this is kind of like the give and take with McFarlane. It's heavily sculpted, and it looks great. And you've got some articulation in there, more than you usually would, but, you know, kind of just enough. The only weird thing is, there's no movement here at the waist, no ab crunch or anything, and for some reason I just can't help but feel like he's got kind of like a gut. He just looks like he's a little bulky in the midsection there, and he has a donk. Maybe it's just me. Overall, I mean, the sculpt is killer. And even, you know, the paint that they put into this, you know, the paint job is just, like, you can, it looks like he's been wearing this shirt, you know, and he's been through the dirt, been through the mud. Let's see. Fine little details, like check out that belt. The belt buckle and the little satchels on his belt. Looks like a knife. Yeah, I think that's a knife on there. Can't do anything with it, but just amazing, amazing detail. Here, sculpt looks great. It's Rick Grimes. Awesome, awesome. Aside from the hand, the interchangeable hand, he did come with this pistol with a silencer, which compared to the Magnum, I'm never going to use this compared to the Magnum. And he came with these, which for the life of me, I don't remember where this is from. Like, I don't ever remember him using this in the show. But it's got a nice little metal chain. I mean, it's a cool looking accessory, I guess. I just don't know what the hell it's from. I don't remember when he used it ever. But I'm sure it's in there from that one episode when he did that one thing with that one zombie, and I don't know. But that's included. Yeah. I mean, I love it. Like I said, I waited a long time. The original Ricks actually were going up in value a lot. I don't know if they still are, but I remember at one time, like, the original Rick figures got pretty rare if you still had them in their packaging. But that's the Rick figure for me for now, until they make another one. But that's just my badass pose for him. I just reminiscent of the posters. I just love it. One thing I'll say is his feet look a little wonky when he's posed. Like, that's how his feet have to be posed, and you can see his foot looks a little bow-legged. But that's the way it has to be. There isn't much room with that sculpt to move his ankles around. And then we got Daryl. So Daryl's going to be you know, he didn't come with as much accessories, but like this guy is like, for as much as I love that Rick figure, Daryl just like, wow. I mean, his biggest accessory is obviously his crossbow. And I think they knew they had to get this right, because this thing has become iconic. He's got the little strap. The extra arrows, because Daryl never runs out of arrows. That was a figure that just fell. They nailed that. He also came with a knife, which, you know, is cool. I could leave it in the other hand, but I was like, you know what? I like that you can put it right in there in that little holster, and it's just there. So I mean, let's just look at this guy. Does that look like Norman Reedus or what? His little facial hair, squinty little eyes. It's just like, I mean, looking at detail, like, for as good as the Rick figure is, this one just, you can see it on his pants. The paint, like they've got some mud on there. They gave him, I'm not going to go over the articulation. I mean, it's all pretty much the same. His arms can move a lot better because he doesn't, you know, he's not wearing a shirt, so they're just full on, you know, a lot freer movement. Both of his wrists have those pivots because he does not have interchangeable hands. So both of his will do that. He's got the wings on the vest. Even like this, he's got his little handkerchief hanging out the back of his pocket there. They did give Daryl an ab crunch, kind of. He's got that whole much more range of motion than Rick does. But everything else is on mine. The knees, you can actually feel the ratcheting a lot better. Same kind of deal though with his feet. They look bow busted. I don't know. I mean, the pants sculpt is really nice. It looks phenomenal. And the shoes look great, and everything looks great. But because of that sculpting, you can't really move the foot too much. So he ends up looking like he's a busted up scarecrow. I mean, he works. You can get him standing just fine. It's just kind of weird that's like that. But, yeah, I mean, this guy looks awesome. Look at his vest, his buttons. I love the knife accessory in there. Again, no other accessories for him, just because I think they knew they had to nail the crossbow. And I really like that it's got that cool strap, so you know you could get it over his shoulder, get him holding it. Or just get it in the hand. And you could kind of fiddle with it to make it look like he's holding it with both arms. But I'm going just for the chillax kind of, you know. He's hanging out. And it looks great, man. I mean, he looks great holding it. So that's kind of like my default. Him and Rick chilling. So these guys definitely get 2 thumbs up. The McFarlane figures have been going strong. There's lots of choices with the zombies and the main actors. But for me particularly, this was a home run because I was really waiting for both of these guys for a long time, and I think I finally got them. They finally made the figures I was waiting for with these sculpts, and I definitely happy with them. So yeah, check them out. If you're a Walking Dead fan, definitely look into the McFarlane figures. They've covered almost everyone now. And if you're looking for Rick or Daryl, I would say check out these guys. They're out right now. Pretty readily available. I found them in Target. And that's about it for this one. Alright.